Jacob, you missed last week, man. You missed last week.
How was it?
It was great. We had Jeff Hazley came in, and
that's fantastic.
Yeah,
way better guest than I am.
We had some great. Well, you're not a guest. You're one of the hosts.
Well,
you're one of the staples of this show.
I mean, when sometimes you have to do a staple remover, and whenever you remove that staple and then you replace it with Jeff, that's like taking like a bunch of papers held together with a stapler and putting it into like a 3-ring binder. That's just way better.
Jeff's the 3-ring binder. That makes so much sense.
Yeah, his name is FF_3-ring binder.
That would be an excellent name for the fantasy community. I think that you should actually change yours from FFRTDB.
No, I'm not a 3-ring binder. I'm FF stapler. Only someone as prestigious as Jeff could be a 3-ring binder. At best, I'm a duotang.
What the hell is a duotang?
Is that half orangutan?
Wait, is that the thing that spreads?
It's like this. Yeah, it's a spreader thing. Yeah.
That's what it's called, a duotang?
A duotang, because there's 2 tangs. A duotang.
You know what else spreads? STDs.
There's so many different things that I thought you were going to say. I wasn't sure. I was immediately doing like the word cloud for what I think Shane is about to say next and whether or not he's going to get us canceled.
God, my mind was racing. My mind was freaking racing.
I was already working on the public apology that I was going to have to I was going to be like, last night on our weekly program, Shane Manola made a regrettable comment. He's very sorry. We're very sorry. I laughed. I shouldn't have laughed.
I laughed.
We take our obligation seriously to provide thought-provoking content in a sensitive manner, and unfortunately, we let you down as an audience last night.
I'm calling bullshit on that apology right there. Thought-provoking content. What?
Yeah.
Let's go live, kids.
Are you guys ready?
Yeah,
all right, we already are live, Shane.
Well, we're about to kick the show off.
This was the best part of the show. We're only going downhill from here.
Yeah, pretty much. Probably. You're not right. You're not wrong. You're not right.
You're not right.
You're not right. You're not wrong.
This is Fantasy Intervention. Now here to intervene with your fantasy life, Shane Manila, Jacob Sanderson, and Chase Vernon.
So, Jacob, let me tell you what happened last week, right?
Yeah.
So we moved the show to 8 o'clock because I'm like, hey, Chase, I got to hard out. Like, I got a show right. We run 15 minutes long, obviously, and then he wants to talk after the show.
Oh boy!
Yeah.
So then you had to cut down. So you had to do like what, a 20-minute show, and then do the talk after.
Yeah, I didn't do much of the talking.
What did you guys talk about after?
I don't remember. I wasn't paying attention.
It's actually going to be all about the Scott Fishbowl and how we will be talking with Heath Cummings along with Jeff, about the Scott Fishbowl for Trophy Smack. So it was actually a good conversation. Yeah, it was a great conversation. And Shane never said why he had to go. I just thought he wanted to go early because he was tired. He didn't say he had a show after.
Had a show? Yeah, dude, I would not. Just because I'm tired, I wouldn't leave. I mean,
I don't know. You definitely don't.
All right. So tonight, welcome to Fantasy Dynasty Intervention. Tonight, we're going to be discussing the AFC North and another conference. I'm not sure which.
Did you say NFC North division. Or AFC?
AFC North.
Okay.
We're doing
and AFC South.
And the AFC South, yeah.
Which divisions again? Sorry, I'm joking. NFC South and AFC South, right?
Oh my God, this is off to a dumpster fire. Welcome on into Fantasy Intervention.
Does that mean we're going to have to talk about Russell Gage today?
Russell Gage. I mean, now that Rob Gronkowski is retired.
Well, I thought you said we were talking about the NFC and the AFC South.
No, AFC North and AFC South.
Oh, AFC North. Well, all the prep work that I've done is out the window now.
Jeez.
Jeez.
Oh, my
I have so many
God.
Cameron Brate takes.
I can't, man. Well, speaking of Cameron Brate, no, we're not going to go into that. We're going to dive right into the AFC North for now. And we're going to discuss probably one of the most fun divisions in terms of the fantasy values because we're going to see some players. Yeah. Well, we have players that are taking hits like the Steelers, and then we have players that actually might have some surprise appeal, such as the Baltimore Ravens. Diving into it, is there a certain player that is a lock on almost any one of y'all's rosters? Are you drafting anybody from the AFC North like as often as you can get them? Somebody like a Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, anybody along those lines? Shane,
Devin
will start
Duvernay,
with you.
Definitely. Devin Duvernay.
We will get to Devin Duvernay.
Chase, yeah. I mean, honestly, so there's the
cost, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So there's certain players. Look, I'm all about discount buys, right? But there's a certain number of players, and there's roughly 6 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, 1, 2, 3, about 9 players total in fantasy that I'm like, I'll pay. Yeah, whatever you want, that's fine. You got it. Chase is one of those. You know how trajectories work? They're always straight up. So by this time next year, I expect us to be discussing his 2,500 receiving yards season in season 2 and 17 touchdowns.
But here's the interesting Chase question, Shane. Who would you take first, Chase or Jefferson in Dynasty, or this year? Because they both go right back to back in either order in both. So.
Man, I have them so close, but I lean Jefferson.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah, there's something, nothing against Chase, but there's T. Higgins could be the wide receiver 1 on that team. There's not anyone that's going to challenge Jefferson's role. Adam Thielen's a very nice ancillary piece, but T. Higgins is skilled enough to be the wide receiver 1 on that Bengals offense, at least a season or two throughout their careers.
Well, what's nice with Justin Jefferson is that he always runs. The only other wide receiver on the team is KJ Osborne, which helps with your stats because they're always running these 2 tight end sets with Irv Smith and Adam Thielen.
I mean, aren't you guys concerned at all about the quarterback position, especially for dynasty purposes, since we are still in dynasty season, as to like, hey, who's going to be the quarterback for Justin Jefferson within 2 years from now?
No, I'm not. Kirk Cousins is going to be his quarterback for 2 years. 2 years is a lifetime in dynasty football in any frame. He'll be 26 at that point, and you always bet on talent. Like he's him or Chase, one of the two is one of the 2 best wide receivers in the league. I'm betting on that. I don't care if I'm their quarterback. Situations change, Chase. Talent does not.
Yeah, but I think Chase's point is a fair one. The unfair point that I've heard is when people are like, I like Chase more than Jefferson because I like Burrow more than Cousins. That's disrespectful to Kirk Cousins, who is a good NFL quarterback. Yes. And I will not tolerate any disrespect towards Kirk Cousins. But the way you framed it in terms of life after Cousins, which will certainly happen at some point, whereas Jamar Chase is probably playing his entire career with Joe Burrow. So in that sense, the situation probably doesn't change. I think that's valid. I still lean Jefferson just because I think that he is such a monster. I think he's going to be a wide receiver 1 in virtually any situation. And I just think with Cousins, like, he's good enough that I trust, at least I hope, at least I pray, that that's a guy you don't move on from without a solid alternative. Like, I just don't see a situation where you voluntarily move yourself from Cousins to complete and utter purgatory and sadness. So I feel like when the time does come with Cousins, like, it'll either be, in 5 years, in which case I don't even care, or if it's in 1 or 2 years, I feel like that's because they have an option available to them that's better than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
no, Jamie, I don't think so.
Let's talk about some of the. Here, we'll go ahead and bring
What's up, Jamie?
Taking over for Cousins.
I will wager against this. I do not think that Kellen Mond is taking over after Kirk Cousins, and in fact, Jamie's question is a good reason why I think that especially Malik Willis in particular is now being overrated in Dynasty, because most of these teams are not that invested in whether their 3rd round quarterback gets a shot. Like, it's a very different situation if it's Desmond Ridder, who the entire beat reports say is probably going to start this year. And in that case, it's up to him. He has a Davis Mills. Okay, are you good or are you not good? He's probably not good. But if he is good, then we'll see it. But like, Mond is assured nothing. If he ever plays, it's probably because Cousins gets hurt.
All right,
And
let's
Mike
hop
Zimmer,
off of.
it's still my favorite quote of all time is Mike Zimmer. It's like, no, I don't need to see any more Kellen
I
Mond.
see him play every day.
I'm good.
Let's
go,
move
bro.
back over to the AFC North, right? Because I don't want to venture too far off of AFC North, where I mean the best receiver in the division outside of T. Higgins and Chase Claypool, left, and Marquis Brown. Now we have Rashad Bateman coming up, who's somewhat disappointed to an extent in his rookie season. A lot of people that were on Rashad Bateman were a little bit disappointed with what they got. Now he ended up coming in, he saw the targets necessary, and now he's probably the number 2 or number 1 option in this offense. Him or Mark Andrews. Where do you guys have Rashad Bateman ranked in Dynasty, and what are you willing to trade for him or trade away, if you're not onto him? Shane?
So yeah, I've struggled with Rashad Bateman, right? Because he had a better rookie season than I like to give him credit for. And I did poop all over him because he just didn't dominate targets, right? But he did hit some thresholds that we want to see, right? He did have over 550 receiving yards. He did score over 8.5 fantasy points a game. So he hit some thresholds, even if it was just barely, right? But that's the point of thresholds. Like I can't just say, oh, well, if you barely do it, it doesn't count. Like they exist for a reason.
Right.
Marquis Brown, Hollywood, 26% of the targets are gone. And I'm not a vacated target guy, except that there's literally no other wide receiver on that roster. And Bateman happens to be talented. So Bateman's a guy I've come around on the last couple months, and I wish I had more on my roster because I could definitely see him having not a wide receiver 1 season. I don't think that's in his range of outcomes, but at worst wide receiver 2 season.
Yeah, we've talked about a lot of different transportation that you can have in Vancouver over the time during the show. We talked about the C bus. We talked about the Sky Train. I'm on the struggle bus as it pertains to Rashad Bateman. I'm not sure what to do with him, quite frankly. Loved him as a prospect. It's my second favorite prospect in the class. And yeah, his year was like just good enough that you're not willing to totally write him off, but not good enough that you're sure he's good. Like he wasn't like the Waddle, Elijah Smith year, and it also wasn't the Terrace Marshall, De'Ami Brown type year. So you're kind of on the edge. And then I was pretty content with labeling him as sell, quite frankly. Yeah, Taylor, please come on, by the way. I was pretty content with labeling Bateman as sell when Brown was still there because I felt like a guy that we weren't 100% sure was good. And then even if he was good, what was he going to do? But now I think it kind of can cut both ways. Like his prices come up. I don't love paying an inflated price for a guy I'm not that sure is good. And at the same time, if he is good, he actually could smash. So it's a little bit terrifying both ways. I hate this term because I think it's cowardly, but Bateman's a hold for me.
Really? That's actually kind of surprising just because you were so heavy on Bateman coming into the season. And,
strong convictions, weakly held.
Okay, I'll take that. Now, we'll talk about the secondary receiver, the guy who they think is actually going to be the second receiver in this offense.
I'm on mute real quick. I just want to tell Jacob, he did an excellent job on Fitz's podcast last week. If anyone missed that,
thanks so much. You even got a shout out, Shane. We talked about you within the first 2 minutes of the show.
Meanly, but that's okay. That's fine.
Yeah, but you know that's how I show my love.
So
if you don't think that I show my love by being mean, you must think I hate Chase.
Oh, God. Oh my God, dude, the stuff I have to deal with between you two. So let's talk about this second receiver on the team, the wide receiver 2, which is Devin Duvernay. There's nobody else on here. I mean, sure, James Prochet might end up taking it over, but Devin Duvernay is somebody that we need to discuss because he is a hot topic, and it's somebody that
the season,
even if he ends up seeing, a 18% target share, we're still going to see a decent amount of targets. Efficient offense will he'll see plenty of scoring opportunities. Marquis Brown, he succeeded in this role, and Devin Duvernay has a speed that Marquis Brown arguably has. He the physical profile. He doesn't drop the ball, which is very right, Jacob. And this is something that sure he has not played. He's just been special teams, but now he's presented with an opportunity. Prior years in this offense didn't really get an opportunity. I was on the verge of dropping Duvernay prior to the Marquis Brown moving on, but now I'm kind of like interested. Duvernay as an extent, maybe third round pick for him, something along those lines. So, dude, Jacob, I know you don't want to talk about it much. That's why we're going to start. But why you don't like Duvernay. I know you're a fan right now. You want to do why is I'm on the end of the spectrum where I'm kind of interested.
Well, my thoughts are, for the record, Chase, can you hear me? Because I can barely hear you, but I don't know if it's my end or yours.
Showing I get a storm over, so maybe that has something to do with it because I'm not hardwired.
Okay, but you can hear me fine, Shane, Chase, nodding?
Yep.
Yes? Okay, good. I'm just not interested in buying players that haven't shown us any reason to think that they're good. Like Devin Duvernay earned a target last year on 14.8% of his routes. And you can blame the offense, whatever. His ADOT was 6. That's outside the top 90. So it's not like he was running a downfield role. And Sammy Watkins, who I think most people view as a corpse at this point, earned a target on 21% of his routes. So substantially more than Devin Duvernay. There was only one player in the entire active NFL, other than running backs, who has earned a target on over 200 routes on 40% of them in an active NFL season. That's Mark Andrews. Quite possibly the best target earner on a per route basis in the entire NFL. Maybe like right in the tier with with Justin Jefferson and AJ Brown and Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp on a per route basis. So in terms of what I think happens in this offense is that Mark Andrews is going to get absolutely fed with targets to just an unbelievable degree. He could see like a 35% targets per route run this year. And then Bateman's going to get all that he proves capable of earning. And I don't think that anybody else is going to earn a whole lot of targets, quite frankly. Like I'm sure Duvernay can maybe get his 15%, but it's a low ADOT 15%. Like what does that do for you? So I don't know. Outside of like a last round pick in best ball, I'm not super interested in any of Duvernay or Wallace or Prochet or any of these jamokes. And Taylor, I can see you too, buddy. I love to see that beautiful face in that YouTube icon.
Shane, I mean, we have Rashad Bateman, who ended up spending most of the year, injured this past season, or at least half the year injured or so. What if Devin Duvernay ends up becoming the number one option? Like, wouldn't he be worth a 3rd round pick?
He
does. Who does?
Rashad Bateman after Mark Andrews. That's literally it. That's going to be a concentrated target share. We love those, right? We love offenses where we can predict it's a wide receiver and a tight end. It was Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, Mark Andrews and Marquis Brown. Now Rashad Bateman slides into the Marquis Brown hole, and it's him and Mark Andrews. Don't waste any money on Devin Duvernay. If you want to waste a 3rd round rookie pick, at least waste it on a rookie, a 2nd-year wide receiver that's only been bad 1 year. Devin Duvernay is not good.
Do it on a backup running back.
You should, but I mean, if you want to like waste your money on a wide receiver, like make it a 2nd-year guy. So not a guy into his 3rd year. He sucked both years.
Yeah, I'd rather have like Dwayne Eskridge if you really need to make me pick.
What? No.
Yeah, because we know less. Like we know more about Devin Duvernay than we know about Dwayne Eskridge.
Exactly.
I'd rather have Anthony Schwartz, right? But all of these guys are below what I call the Samaj AP line, and that is who is the worst possible backup running back that's potentially one injury away from producing RB2 numbers. And that is, of course, Samaj P. Ryan. And so every wide receiver that we talk about, basically everyone Chase loves, I have to place them either above or below the Samaj P. line. And that theory states that I either would rather roster Samaj P. Ryan or them. And unfortunately, Devin Duvernay is below the Samaj P. line.
All right, so let's move over to an offense that's a little bit less interesting. Well, it could be more interesting, but less sexy in terms of the Pittsburgh Steelers, because we have George Pickens coming in as a rookie. We have Pickett coming in who might end up having some rushing capability. Marcus Mariota, who if he ends up earning the starting job, will end up rushing the ball a ton. I'm sorry, Mitchell Trubisky will end up rushing the ball a ton, not Marcus Mariota. And then we have Deontay Johnson, who should earn a ton of targets. Freiermuth, who should earn a decent amount of targets. He brought up previously about Chase Claypool. And love for Claypool since our conversation has grown, because I just keep on looking more and more and more and more. No, I don't think that he's top 3, but I do think that he will end up earning a role in this offense, especially out of the slot where he could see, an immense amount of targets. Thanks to Jacob for bringing that up back, a couple months ago. So, Shane, how are you feeling about Chase Claypool? Is he somebody that you actually want to take a chance on, or is he somebody that you want to pass on? He's going 11th round, I believe, in ADP.
11th round, you said?
9th or 11th round, something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, I
believe he goes in the 9th. Yeah, I think he's around 105.
He's fine there. I felt a lot better before the NFL draft, before the Madden George Pickens and who else they had? Calvin Austin there.
Calvin Austin's below the P line.
Okay, he's below the P line. Okay.
I don't like Calvin Austin, just for the record.
I definitely felt better. And look, I still think it's Deontay Johnson's the one that's going to be moving on because I think it's more of a we don't like to pay wide receivers. And that's really all it is. I mean, Claypool's fine. You know, he had touchdown regression from his rookie season, which was to be expected since he scored 87 touchdowns against the Eagles in one game in his rookie year. So that's going to happen. He didn't take any step forward. Now, if you like him, backward. But if you do like him, I mean, well, I was going to say, if you do like him, I mean, really, the biggest difference was the touchdown scoring, which isn't sticky anyway. There was definitely some other indicators there that weren't great. And then there was the real football stuff, like, you know, celebrating after a first down when there's 3 seconds left and stuff like that, which is definitely not great. I didn't watch the Mike Tomlin interview, but I'm assuming he said that Chase Claypool was a poo-poo head in it. 9th round, though, look, just because of the physical attributes and his rookie season, he's still a guy that I'll take there. You know, I'll take a shot on him. And you can get him fairly cheap now because most people are really down on him.
I'm struggling with him too. This is like you named 2, and Bateman and Claypool might be the 2 wide receivers that I have the hardest time figuring out my stance on right now, because Claypool is like the opposite of Bateman, where I didn't like the prospect profile. And then he comes into year 1 and really was impressive. Like, not even just the touchdowns. He only ran about 70% of the routes, but his per route data was phenomenal. He was earning a target on 26% of his routes. He was doing that at the highest ADOT of any of the wide receivers on the team. And he was quite efficient on those targets. So everything about his year 1 was like everything we want to see out of a year 1 for a wide receiver. And then we come into year 2 and just everything was bad. He opens up as being, you know, still not playing in 3 wide receiver sets over Juju. Then Juju gets hurt. It's like, okay, perfect. Now he's going to get all the snaps. And what we saw is his target share remained about stable. That's why people are saying that it was only the touchdowns that regressed. But his targets per route came way down. He just ran more routes because he wasn't getting subbed off in 3 wide receiver sets for Juju anymore. He was playing full time. But his targets per route came way down. He was earning a target on 26% of targeted throws on routes before, all the way down to 21% in 2021. Then you look at his reception perception data that Matt Harmon puts together. He was in the 5th percentile against man coverage, the 5th. That's horrendous. And his reception perception was good in his first year for a rookie. So I don't know. He took a major step back on the field. I can't imagine that what he did in his first year is totally a fluke. You know, you can say it's positive variance, whatever, but rookies that perform like Claypool did in year 1 tend to be good NFL players. So I think maybe the ceiling has come off a little bit, but I really struggle to think that a guy who did what he did as a 22-year-old is just bad now. I think that if he can get his mind right, and it's a weird thing where it's a scenario where I almost like that he seems like a total douchebag because, like, to me, it's like if he seemed like the hardest working, like most passionate, dedicated guy in the world, then I would almost think that his year 2 is talent based. But because he seems like kind of a wild card off the field, like I almost like that because it's easier almost to say, okay, maybe his head wasn't quite right in year 2, but maybe if he gets himself recommitted and his head's in the right place for year 3, then all of a sudden we can get back to where he was. Like, to me, that almost makes me more optimistic. I know that's really narrative driven, but if I'm looking for trying to figure out reasons why a guy had this weird regression, I almost prefer that he seems like a bit of a head case.
It's kind of bizarre how the Steelers have a really good track record of drafting receivers, but they also have a really bad track record of drafting crazy receivers. We have like Juju Smith-Schuster, we have Antonio Brown, you know, we have Wallace, we have Claypool,
George
we have
Pickens.
Yeah, I mean, just these guys who are literally like crazy people that just don't feel like they have their mindset right, but their talent level's up there. And
I think
Shane,
it's because Tomlin loves it, man. Tomlin, like he talked about, he loves coaching.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, moving on to some of these running backs, or unless you guys want to talk about Amari Cooper, you know, Donovan Peoples-Jones. I know Shane probably definitely wants to talk about him, but I don't think we're gonna have time today. So Shane, I'm sorry, we're not gonna be able to talk about Donovan Peoples-Jones as much. You guys want to talk about some running backs? Shane, you're still on mute. Let's go ahead and move on.
That's not true. I'm not on mute.
Not anymore. Let's move on to a running back who's actually, I feel like could end up being a little bit of a disappointment this season in Najee Harris. They're already talking about how they want to, drop his carry count down. We now have reports that Benny Snell's in shape, which is just weird. I still don't think he's going to be good at football, but maybe the touches still go to Benny Snell to an extent. Maybe some Anthony McFarland. Is Najee Harris going to have as a productive season without the amount of receptions that he has if he does see, snap count decrease? I should say receptions and touches.
I reject your premise that he's going to see a snap count decrease, to be honest with you. One, as long as Mike Tomlin has been a head coach for the Steelers, it's one guy. He plays all the snaps. That's what they do. It doesn't matter if it's James Conner, D'Angelo Williams, Le'Veon Bell, Willie Parker. I believe that was the gentleman's name. Or that might have been Bill Caro. I'm probably going back too far. But, dude, that's what the Steelers do. They get one back and they grind him and grind him and grind him. Now, he's not going to have 74 receptions, but he could have a better yards per carry. He could have better breakaway rate. He could have more touchdowns because considering he had 415 touches or whatever he did last year, he only had 10 touchdowns, which really isn't that impressive. He's an interesting player because no one likes him. He's the running back 2 in Dynasty, I think, or running back 3. He's either 2 or 3, and it's almost by no one will admit to ever drafting him at that level now.
I can't stand him.
And you can't trade him for anything. If you try to trade him a commensurate value of the running back 2 in Dynasty football, you would think is well, you should give me a wide receiver 1+. And people are just aghast. I have never, dear sir, I can't believe you would insult me like that. I challenge you to a duel. And you're like, all right, just calm down, bro. It's just trying to make a trade. All that said, I actually do like him as a buy, only because the rest of the community hates him.
Najee Harris is, I think he's my Dynasty RB2.
Mm-hmm.
God, he's outside my top 5, I think.
I can't even get the words out because it causes me such pain. But when I look at that tier of the 5 running backs, as much as I think Najee is a big plotting jag, I weirdly have less concerns with him than I have with the others. Christian McCaffrey, I feel like it's clearly he's league dependent. If you already have a contender, then he's worthwhile buy, and if you don't, then he's totally useless to you. So you have a narrow, window of usage on him. Then you have Swift, who seems like he can't run the ball, and also loses a lot of carries to Jamal Williams. You have Breece Hall, who we've never seen play. Who knows what he's going to be. You have Javonte, who's definitely in a timeshare, or at least most likely in a timeshare. Najee has the least red flags to me, but I'm still not really targeting Najee. It just sucks because you look in the ADP, right? And it's Najee goes ahead of Kyle Pitts. Man, I would love to trade Najee for Kyle Pitts. And then if you ever did that, you should be placed under witness protection program because someone would get so mad at you for offering that deal. The guy that I love in Pittsburgh is just Deontay Johnson. That's just my guy, and everybody else I'm kind of in between with.
All right, let's move on to Joe Mixon, the guy in this heavy scoring Bengals offense. I believe it was the Bengals that had the 31st slowest offense in 2021.
God, it was gross.
Yet they were still so dynamic. It was even better than Green Bay, and Green Bay was slow as hell as well. But are we going to see an increase in snaps over there to where we could see Joe Burrow, we could see his receivers go off while still allowing Joe Mixon to be consistent from week to week? And will Joe Mixon see an increase in targets as he saw from week to week? He probably looked at the score, Joe Burrow did to make sure that he's sufficient levels of receiving over there.
No, he's not going to see an increase in targets. After 17 years in the league, I'm just going to call it. The target share he's getting is all he's going to get. And quite frankly, there's a legitimate reason he shouldn't see a high target share right now. T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, because if those are your 2 wide receivers, those 2 gentlemen should see somewhere north of 55% of your targets, probably closer to 60. And Joe Mixon should see passes when all else fails, literally all else fails. Let's look at Burrow's pass attempts. I mean, did they pick up? They picked up a little bit towards the end of the year. The problem with Burrow is everyone's looking at his last 2-3 weeks and thinking that's what he is. I don't know if that's what he is, because he was extremely, let's say, he was good. He was good the rest of the year, right? But he wasn't elite. It wasn't until the last couple games of the season, last 2 out of the last 3 games of the season, that he went nuts, and people started going, "Oh, okay, no, it was just him working his way back from injury, and now Zach Taylor knows what he has." You make that guess with Zach Taylor. We also saw Zach Taylor use Samaje Perine on 3rd down in the Super Bowl, so he's still the same guy. Mixon's a guy I'd love to move because he's a 25, 26-year-old running back. But I think he's still, mid to low end running back 1.
What would you ask for him if you were trying to move him? A late first, early second, 2 seconds?
For Mixon?
Yeah.
No, I'm moving him. It's got to be a 23 first. He's definitely not on the list of guys that are worth more than a 23 first.
Small list.
It's a very small list. The more I think about it, when people make offers, I'm like, yep, taken. Yeah, look, the O-line's better. That's fine. I mean, it's just that he should not be seeing 25 touches a game. Like, there's no reason for him to see 25 opportunities a game. Not with those 2 wide receivers. Jacob.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I don't care how good an O-line is for a running back. Like, the least important part of a running back's fantasy production is rushing efficiency. Like, what matters is how many carries do you get, how many receptions do you get, how many touchdowns you get. Whether you average 3.8 yards a carry or 4.3 yards a carry, like, matters just really at the margins. So in terms of, whatever marginal effect that'll have on Mixon's efficiency with the O-line being better, cool. But to me, that's more of like a bonus. That's not something I'd ever, build a take around is in terms of the O-line quality. I'm fine with Mixon. I think that, like Shane said, it's practically a felony how, like, slow and run heavy they ran that offense last year for a large portion of the year, when they could just let Burrow go back and air it out to these monsters on the outside. I'm fine with Mixon. My issue with him is that it's the exact opposite of what it was last year. All of these 2016, 2017 vet running backs basically just seem to be ranked in dynasty and valued accordingly to who landed on the right side of the touchdown variance and didn't get hurt the year prior. Like, previously, I liked Mixon because he was the cheapest of a bunch of guys who projected kind of the same. And now him and Eckler are the most expensive of a bunch of guys who project kind of the same because the other ones got hurt last year. The other ones didn't score as many touchdowns last year. So, it seems like we keep seeing Mixon go pretty considerably ahead of guys like Cook now, guys like Henry, who I understand he's a little bit older, well ahead of, like, the Fournettes and the Connors and the Aaron Joneses. So it's hard for me to pay all the way up for Mixon. If I'm going to go with the vet running back tier, I prefer to play a little bit cheaper. But if you have Mixon, you can certainly safely start him if nobody wants to trade him.
Yeah, Mixon is somebody that, makes me a little bit nervous, like, moving forward, just because of his inconsistencies and because of this offense. I think the play speed increases, and I think that they become a top 5 offense in terms of yards per game and scoring per game. Mixon for me is somebody that I've never really been a big fan of, so I'm not trying to acquire him. But what would you guys trade if you had a championship caliber team in order to get him under 2023 first?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, if I think I've got a shot at a title, and I wouldn't do it now because there's a running back, and any running back you trade for is automatically going to tear their ACL the next day. It's just the rules. I don't make them. But I'm giving up a 2023 first because I'm assuming if I'm giving it up for Joe Mixon, I've got one better running back than him already, and I'm just trying to put the hammer to people's souls. And this team's going to be a low pick anyway. Even though it's still going to be a great class, I can still live with losing the 109, 110, 111, 112. You know what I mean, for Mixon.
Jacob?
In terms of where I would draft Mixon in a redraft setting?
No, if you ended up having a
he said
dominant
111,
team.
112.
Yeah, if you ended up having a dominant
team,
would you move a 2020 first round pick to acquire him to be able to go win that championship, or would you try and target somebody else with a 2023 first?
I mean, in a vacuum, I guess, sure. Like, I definitely would rather have Mixon than a late 23 first. I just feel like there's other options that I would want to do first. And mostly what I would want to do is wait. Like, I just don't want to be trading for these guys now, because if I already have a dominant team, right? Like, to me, I'd rather just wait until week 9, week 10, and then make that call. You know, I don't need to pay for the first 10 weeks where Mixon's not really necessary to my contending team. And then he could get hurt in that time. He could plummet in value during that time. There's just more, to me, there's like more risks to holding Mixon right now than there are to letting him be on someone else's roster. And then, you know, whatever team in my league has a veteran running back at week 8, week 9, week 10, but is 3-5, that's the team that I'm more likely to talk to and try to get someone off of them. And I'm just less picky in terms of who that is. So I think there will be a time in the season I'd be okay moving a 23 first for Joe Mixon on a contending team, but I'd rather do it later when I know that I actually am a contending team and when I know that Mixon hasn't already torn his ACL in week 4.
So there's one running back that I want to discuss that I think is a league winner. That his schedule from weeks 11 through 17 is insane. He has one of the most advantageous schedules to close out the year in terms of matchups and possible just explosion from the running back position, which is what you always want towards the end of the season. J.K. Dobbins, you know, he faces the Steelers, I believe, twice, which were the worst team against the run in 2021. The other match cake. Is J.K. Dobbins somebody that you guys have even had your eye on to start out the year, or lack of pass recover from injury too much of a Shane, you want to start?
You broke up a lot.
Yeah, sorry, you froze up at the end. All good.
God, man, this Wi-Fi is killing me.
Basically, I didn't like any of your take. In order to be an elite running back, right? You need targets and touchdowns, or just a voluminous abundance of one or the other. And I don't see him getting either. He was wildly efficient in his rookie year with rushing touchdowns. I don't see that happening. If Lamar Jackson's healthy, those are Lamar Jackson's, and he's not going to get targets. He's just not. I've given up on that. You know, I held out hope through his rookie season that, you know, look, this time they're going to be different. It's going to be different. I know he has a running quarterback, but this is going to be the different one. He's going to see targets.
What if Dobbins gets all the targets that you don't think Devin Duvernay is going to get?
So he like the 7 targets that I think Duvernay. Okay, I mean, look, I like J.K. Dobbins. It's just I can't see if he's anything above low end running back 1. I would be. I don't want to say shocked. I would be surprised. And I loved J.K. Dobbins coming out of college. He was my favorite running back. And if he would have landed with a better roster, or not with a better roster, but in a situation more advantageous to him, it could be a different story. But you know.
If you want an efficient running back who's going to have frustrating usage with a rushing quarterback, Miles Sanders is available much cheaper.
Yes.
He is. It was more so, I hope you guys can hear me now. It's more so of his weeks 11 through 17 matchups. Like, they're absolutely insane. You have the Pittsburgh Steelers, who he faces twice, the worst rushing defense in 2021. The other matchups are pretty much just cake. It's a strong run where he has to actually remain competitive, or, you know, it's going to be a blowout. So he's going to be able to handle the workload. So
my issue with Dobbins, though, and I think he's similar to another running back, but probably just so I could even segue us in if we're going to talk about the Browns after this.
Go ahead.
You know, he's always reminded me of Nick Chubb in Dynasty, where you have this player who has talent that insulates his value because, you know, he's just such a special real life player. And I think it's possible that Dobbins, if he comes back fully healthy, is that level of player. But he has these situational forces working against him, which is that he's not an exceptional pass catcher in and of himself. I think he's a better pass catcher than Chubb, but he is on a team that doesn't seem likely to want to give any running back, even a phenomenal one like Dobbins, or in Chubb's case, Chubb, you know, 80% of the touches. And that's going to be a big roadblock because you need one of those two, like Shane said. You know, Derrick Henry can get there without the passing volume because he gets every single carry. I don't know that J.K. Dobbins is going to get every single carry at any time. That's not how Baltimore has operated, even when they've had really strong running backs. And frankly, Gus Edwards is a really strong running back in that scheme anyway. So I'm okay with J.K. in a dynasty format because he's not that expensive, and I think he's just a flat out better player than a lot of running backs he goes around. So, like, I would rather pay a slight premium on getting a J.K. Dobbins versus a like Antonio Gibson or a David Montgomery or a Josh Jacobs, just so that I have a guy that I'm more confident in the talent and the longevity of. but I'm always going to be pretty open to selling that guy when he's on my roster because I just don't think that he has that elite upside. And I feel like I can usually piece him together with far cheaper options, like potentially a Miles Sanders or, this year I'd probably rather pay less for like an Aaron Jones who projects to score more points, but is just older.
So you brought up Derrick Henry, and this is a good time to actually move on to the AFC South, where the Titans, man, they're in a brutal situation. A lot worse off than what people are actually acknowledging. Sure, you have Robert Woods, who's progressing faster than what they expected, and you have Burks, who they drafted early. Burks, news out of camp, not good so far. Derrick Henry's coming off an injury. Is this something that you actually want to have at the current cost, or could this get down to the Titans? Because I'm not seeing it. The Titans actually come out of this year with a winning record. Jacob, you want to start out?
Sure. I'm with you on that last part, 100%. The Titans win total under is one of my favorite bets available. I think the Titans are not going to be good.
I think it's at 9, right? Or 10?
Yeah, it's at, I think it's at 9.
Yeah, I think it's at 9 too.
The
whole division is really
dead air here.
It's really close. Well, the whole division is really close. So I was shocked at the
9.5. I just saw 9.5. I would slam the under on 9.5 for sure. I think I would set it closer to 8.5, maybe even 7.5 or 8. But yeah, I don't think that the Titans are in a good spot. I mean, their offense has been entirely reliant on 2 elite skill position players, one of whom is now a 28-year-old running back with metal in his foot, and the other is not on the roster anymore. And they replaced that with dusty 30-year-old off an ACL Robert Woods and a rookie who currently is unable to practice. So, I'm not panicking on Treylon Burks. He's someone that I'm still happy to acquire in Dynasty if anyone's having a little diaper moment. But I'm not expecting him to be A.J. Brown in year 1, that's for sure. I'm not expecting him to be A.J. Brown.
Diaper moment?
Yeah, they're shitting themselves.
Yeah, a diaper moment.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Shane, diaper moment.
Are you on the same page right here?
Yeah, I mean, someone that I don't mind cheap is Robert Woods because I've been in love with Robert Woods for the last 15 years. So why would this year be any different?
Shane, do you have that clip on repeat? Is this you live or did you just roll a clip from like 7 years ago? Being like, someone I don't mind grabbing cheap is Robert Woods.
It's just every year. It's going to be the same thing. So, but this year he's really cheap because he's coming back from a torn ACL and he's changing rosters.
Just wait till you see his price next year when he's 31.
Yeah. So, look, I love Treylon Burks. I mean, he's one of my 2 highest owned rookies. I went all in on him in early drafts.
That's unfortunate.
Sorry. Derrick Henry, whatever, he's 86 years old and he's coming off a broken foot. I mean, it's eventually the magic runs out, and I think the magic runs out this year.
But people will still draft him in the 3rd round of a dynasty startup. People will do it.
That can't be right. I don't feel like looking to startup information, but if that's true, then you should be ashamed of yourself.
No, it's one of those things where like
we got a great question. We have a great question. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's a great one. I'd love to talk about this.
Trade alert.
David Shaheen comes in and he asks, I'm trying to trade Tannehill, but not having success. How would you guys try and trade Tanny if you had him as your QB3? So he's not your starter, right? I think we also, hey, real quick, David, if you have another quarterback on your roster, just let us know. So that way we can make sure that we're not trying to cover the back ends, and let us know if it's super flex or 2 quarterback or if it's single quarterback league. But let's assume for now that it's probably super flex. And let's talk about, how we tried to move Tannehill. Shane, you want to take the lead on this, or Jacob, you got it?
So here's the thing, right?
First, sure.
If Tannehill's your quarterback 3, like, what do you think you're going to get for him? Like, you need to manage your expectations, right? Like, it's like when you go on Tinder. Like, yeah, you want to swipe right on, like, models and shit, definitely. But unless you're Chase or Jacob, they're not going to respond back to you. So you gotta lower your expectations a little bit. You know what I mean? As a QB3, I'm fine with Tannehill. Now, what I would do is, can I trade Tannehill for Jimmy Garoppolo and a 2nd round pick, maybe? Because I do something like that. Outside of that, I mean, I don't. Again, and he's your QB3. You got to get a QB back, so that's probably what I'm doing. Jimmy Garoppolo type player and a pick.
Shane, would you rather have? Hold on 1 second, real quick. So I want to know Shane's thought processes to make sure we clarify this. Shane, would you rather have like a Sam Darnold, a Matt Corral, or a Jimmy Garoppolo?
Matt Corral or Jimmy Garoppolo, but Jimmy Garoppolo won because Jimmy Garoppolo is going to have a starting job. He's going to have a starting job somewhere. Now,
probably on that team with Sam Darnold and Matt Corral.
Sam Darnold is pretty much, it's 0 minus like 3 weeks until Matt Corral takes his job. And I love Matt Corral, but when I see the coaches saying things like, he's doing a great job once the ball's actually snapped, not so much before it, paraphrasing, that lets me know all I need to know about the young man. He's a fucking dipshit with good physical skills. Doesn't really work that well at quarterback, as much as people like to trash quarterbacks and say that they're not intelligent or certain players. To be a successful quarterback, you do need to be intelligent. And it seems that Matt Corral is not. So if given the choice, I'll take Jimmy Garoppolo.
Yeah, what I would do with Tannehill. So you have Lamar and Kyler Murray. You do not need a third quarterback. So I would go to a team that is really struggling at quarterback and trade him for not a quarterback. I think that's how you're going to get the most value out of him is not trying to do a quarterback for quarterback swap. Just embrace starting a wide receiver in the super flex for 2 weeks of the year. It's a freeing feeling. And if you really want, grab Tyler Huntley because he'll score the same amount of points as Lamar Jackson in any weeks that Lamar gets injured. In fact, grab Tyler Huntley because if Lamar Jackson gets hurt, you're starting Tyler Huntley over Ryan Tannehill anyways because he will score more fantasy points. So I'm just gonna ride with the two. I'm not keeping a third. And then if you do want to trade for a quarterback, because you're having a diaper moment, I would probably target Daniel Jones and get like literally anything on top. And then if not that, I would look at maybe Goff and a little something on top because you don't really need a long-term solution. You have Lamar and Kyler anyway. Like Shane said, I think Baker, Jimmy makes sense. But I mean, I would probably go to like the Deshaun Watson owner and say, okay, what's the best wide receiver you'd give me for Ryan Tannehill?
In all reality, who's actually worth more right now? I mean, Tannehill, who has no receivers, or Goff, who, I mean, I'm not saying he's loaded or anything, but his weapons aren't terrible.
I think Tannehill because I think he's more likely to start in 2023 and beyond. But for this year, that's what I mean. Like in the scenario David's in, I might rather have Goff, and especially if you can even just get even a third on top because you're not worried about the long term, right? Like I would much rather have Tannehill than Goff as my QB2 if I'm looking at a scenario where I'm trying to project who's on my roster going into 2023. But if I'm not reliant on Tannehill to do anything except play a little bit of mop-up duty, and if he ends, if you tip and he dies on your roster and he doesn't get you anything, whatever. You have Lamar and Kyler. You're not worried about quarterback. But that's something I'd look at. Or I'd look at maybe Jameis Winston, a lateral move. Jameis Winston should score more points than Ryan Tannehill. There's more upside.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind that if you can make that move. I don't know that you can because I would think that people would look at them as similar values, especially with both of them starting this year. At least Jimmy Garoppolo, you can pitch the whole, I don't even know if his shoulder's ever going to work right, dude.
Oh, I meant Tannehill for Winston just straight. I don't need a plus with Winston.
Okay.
All right, so let's talk about some of these other players in this division or some of these other teams. And, Jacksonville, dude, this receiving corps is not only terrible, but they have Doug Peterson as the head coach who has never had a wide receiver lead the team in receptions since he started, coaching. Are we going to see the same sort of thing happen over there with Jacksonville? Are we going to see, just complete decimation of all value for all wide receivers over there, for the wide receivers they do have? And is this an opportunity for Evan Ingram to finally come to fruition,
Yes.
according to everybody in the fantasy community?
Yes.
All right, Jacob, you're up.
Evan Ingram's the GOAT, dude. Evan Ingram this is Evan Ingram season. Evan Ingram is going to be a top 10 tight end this year. He's going to lead the Jacksonville Jaguars in targets. He's been over 20% target 3 times in his NFL career. He is an actual athletic tight end that he's out there not to block, but to run routes. We're going to see quite possibly Evan Ingram with over 80% route participation this year in this Jacksonville offense, in a Doug Peterson offense that likes to utilize the tight end in that scheme. Trevor Lawrence, we don't necessarily know what he's going to do, but the little bits that we have from last year is he threw a lot to James O'Shag Hennessy, threw a lot to Laviska Shenault, who's basically a tight end. He threw a lot to Dan Arnold, threw lots of these guys over the middle of the field, checked down a lot to the running back. So I think Evan Ingram's this year, they're a team that's going to have to throw a lot, whether they want to or not, because their defense is still pretty bad. And I think Evan Ingram's in a smash spot this year. He is by far my favorite late tight end pick in best ball. I believe I've drafted him on 40% of my teams. I don't anticipate slowing down any longer. He's a guy where if you are living in this middle tier of tight end in Dynasty, if you have, a Dawson Knox or a Dalton Schultz or a Dallas Goedert or a Mike Gesicki, I would be looking at trading for Evan Ingram plus a second on any of these guys, because I think they're going to give you fairly similar production. And then you can utilize that second to hopefully, get something more useful to your roster.
You do know that Evan Ingram has to catch the ball in order to be productive, right?
No, he only needs to catch some of the balls.
Yeah, that's my only concern.
Also, I play in a point per target per route run league. So, that's not really my concern.
Oh, well, get out of here. It's one of your 100 leagues.
No, I don't actually play in a league like that, but I do. It's fine, because whenever I was watching at my buddy's house one week, and I saw a ball veer over someone's head by 5 yards, and I think it was Bateman. I was like, oh good, that's a TPRR. And that guy was losing his mind that I was reacting to who might be getting targets to help my dynasty teams.
Oh my God,
right.
Shane.
So my dude already highlighted Evan Ingram, which is the receiving option that you should be wanting to buy on that roster. But I'm going to highlight Travis Etienne, man.
Yeah.
I was out on him after the Liz Frank because, well, it's a Liz Frank and it's scary as balls. But he's full go now, right? As Jacob just talked about, Trevor Lawrence was a fan of dumping off to tight ends, wide receivers who played like running backs last year. And he was also a fan of throwing the ball to Travis Etienne in college. So there's the bro, we showered together, pizza connection or whatever, corollary, whatever people are calling it.
Pizza connection in the shower. Yeah. We showered together. There's a pizza
connection. Your pizza in the shower. That'd get all soggy and gross.
But then you wash it off quickly. So
I'm just thinking about eating a pizza in the shower now. It's disgusting.
Yeah, Travis Etienne, I could see with 100+ targets, and I'm not even being facetious. I could see him putting up running back one numbers. He was the running back one of his class last year. Unfortunately, he did something bad, and God decided to punish him with a Liz Frank sprain. Hopefully he's learned his lesson, and now God likes him again, and he will remain healthy, and he'll get to show us what we needed.
Oh, my God. Yeah, no, Etienne is by far one of my biggest risers this year. I love the situation.
Not a tape grinder at all, right? But there's certain players you can watch, and you just go, oh, yeah, he's different than other people. And that's Etienne when you watch him.
Could you imagine a better coach for this situation, as to hey, he loves targeting the running back in his scheme, and then you have the best quarterback or one of them, Trevor Lawrence. By the time he turns 35, is going to be the check down king that Drew Brees used to be. We're going to see this just immaculate. What's the right word? Reception. We're just going to say reception. Immaculate reception by Travis Etienne this year. I love him moving forward. But what do we do with James Robinson? Because James Robinson's in a tough spot.
He can't walk. I'm good. Bye.
Yeah, you're just done with him?
Yeah. Look,
his Achilles hurts, his feelings hurt.
Look, it was a fun little story for his own sake. I wish dude could have made it to a second contract before he blew out anything. But I'm not giving you anything of substantial value to get him from you. I will give you a 3rd round rookie pick if you like. 2024.
Yeah, I've actually seen him moved for that cheap, and I am down with that. It's a time is a flat circle. I love James Robinson coming out of college. I was being a silly little goose for holding on to him when he was valued like a top 15 dynasty running back. Then he looked great last year. Then he tears his Achilles. And yeah, I've gotten him I've seen him moved for a 2023 third. I've seen him move for a 2024 third. I've gotten him for as little as a 3.2 to the 3.9, and I got James Robinson thrown into that. I think he's cheap enough that I give you full permission to draft James Robinson. I've seen some reports that the Jaguars still view him as their lead back. I would not put a whole ton of stock into those reports, but I think if you can get him for dirt cheap, sure. I'd probably put him in the realm of the Zamir White, Keontae Ingram, Tyrion Davis Price, all those in the same realm with them for me.
So let's talk about another Achilles tear. And this one's a little bit, out in left field, but Marlon Mack is another late flyer over there playing for the Texans. This offensive line isn't the worst, but it's not great. It's not good. It's a bad offensive line. This offense probably isn't going to be very good, but is Marlon Mack somebody that you're actually drafting over there for the Texans? If not, are you drafting any running backs over there?
Hey, Dameon Pierce.
Yeah. Like if you're drafting Marlon Mack, I just want you to go outside and soak up the sun, have a little fun in your life. I just think it's got to be depressing to be at the 18th round of a best ball draft and you're looking and you're like, no, I got to draft a non-pass catching old injured running back for the Texans because I think he might get 8 carries for 44 yards and maybe a touchdown in week 3. Don't do it. Draft Pierce. I'm fine with Pierce. He's weirdly cheap. I don't really understand. Usually the community goes absolutely cocoa
starting running backs.
Cuckoo puffs. They have 0 starting running backs. They have 0 starting running backs. I actually don't understand what's happening with Pierce. Every year there's these mediocre running back prospects who get drafted in the 3rd or the 4th and they go to a wide open depth chart and then people take them in the 1st, like total lunatics. This happened with Vaughn. It happened with Moss, or not quite with Moss, but close. Happened with Sermon, Michael Carter, and Pierce. He's at least as good as I think, and he catches the ball a little bit. Why is he in this rookie class that everybody thinks is terrible? He should be a guy that I'm making fun of people for drafting in round 1. I'm drafting in the middle of round 2. It's weird.
Shane, are you on the same page with that?
Thank you, Jamie. I love that comment from Jamie.
Yes.
All right.
I too would rather draft Eno Benjamin than Marlon
Mack. I love me some Eno.
Have you seen the reports on Eno Benjamin?
No, I haven't.
Glowing.
Oh, yeah.
Cliff Kingsbury said that he looks like a starting running back. And I read the Arizona Cardinals beat reporters in The Athletic. They did the 53-man roster projection. They said that Eno Benjamin projects as the number 2 running back ahead of Darrell Williams right now.
Oh, it's big. That's huge. Huge.
Are you making this up? You just gave me chills. Are you making this up right now?
No, they said that. I'm going to pull it up. While we talk in the next segment, pitch to Shane first, and I will read you the article and quote from it.
All right, so before we go into that, let's go ahead and talk about Nico Collins over there for the Texans. He's somebody that didn't really perform very well, although he had plenty of opportunity. Offense was lagging. The team sucked. He should have seen more opportunities. He didn't see a lot of opportunities. Shane, are you off on Nico Collins, although he's the number 2 option in this offense, maybe number 3, depending on what Mechie does?
So what do we? I feel like we have a lot of these same talk sometimes. It's like you don't even know me.
Shane, it's not all the people every week, okay?
How do I feel about rookie wide receivers that score 6 points per game? Don't care. But again, and this isn't say I would load my roster with these guys, but if you want to take a shot on a second-year wide receiver that was ass in the first year, and just do it, just waste 1 roster spot on it, maybe 2. Don't do more than that. Nico Collins is fine as the next guy. It's just that Brandon Cooks is going to be the target vacuum there, and then John Mechie is just a better football player than Nico Collins. The only thing Nico Collins has going for him is Mechie's recovering from an ACL, as every wide receiver and running back and quarterback we're talking about tonight is. He might be able to see some targets early in the year, but I just don't think he's good. I mean, nothing personal. I loved him. Look, he was a 5-star recruit, so that he'll always have that.
And then Donovan Peoples-Jones,
Nico Collins, and Tyreek Black.
Here's Eno Benjamin. So we have Jess Root from USA Today reporting. Said twice in the final week of OTAs, Cliff Kingsbury had unsolicited compliments for this former 7th-round pick out of Arizona State. Eno Benjamin has been tremendous, Kingsbury said unprompted. He's a guy who never had an offseason, and he's out there and looks like he could be a starting running back. With Chase Edmonds having departed in free agency, there's a role in the offense open. Connor will likely be the lead dog, but Benjamin appears to have the inside track to be the guy who spells Connor. in the ESPN roster projection from Josh Weinfuss said Connor is the man this year. He'll handle the bulk of the workload. Benjamin has shined during the offseason, and Williams gives Arizona another veteran presence, but he listed Benjamin number 2 running back.
I have to go change my shorts.
Eno-sism is happening.
Eno-sism is happening.
Just when they thought I was out, they pull me back in.
Oh my God.
I added in like 3 leagues last night. I was up late last night until midnight grinding the 53-man roster projections from every team to try and figure out what running backs to add on my 30th bench spot. And I add a little Here come the warm jets, baby. Look at Chase. He's looking down on his phone. He's adding Benjamins right now.
I already have so many shares of them, so I have to find the leagues that I don't already have them in.
And I love that you immediately knew. You immediately were like, "Oh, this is a league I don't have Probably because you caught him 2 weeks ago."
Dude, don't even bring that up. We don't say that. Oh my God, that's incredible. All right, let's go ahead. What are we talking about? I forget what we're talking about.
I thought we were done.
We're almost done, Shane. We're almost done. Who do we? Oh, the Colts. The Colts are like the number 1 team I wanted to talk about here because they actually have the most fantasy appeal to me. We have Michael Pittman, who could potentially break out. We have Alec Pierce, who is probably Jacob's second or third favorite prospect and goes to his favorite team.
Big fan.
Paris Campbell, who's been injured his entire career, hoping to get a major role in this offense. And then Matt Ryan, who I think is the biggest beneficiary of anybody in the AFC South in terms of, where he was compared to where he will be at the end of the 2022 season. With that being said, which one do you guys think actually sees the biggest rise in ADP from 2022 to 2023?
Can I say Jelani Woods?
No.
Yeah, you can. No, you can say that if you want to.
You can, but then I'm going to fight you. So let's do that. It's good content.
Dun, dun, dun. Look, I'm going to always be in love with athletic tight ends. That really probably that's their only calling card. Although he did have a good dominator rating, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I love Jelani Woods, but he's a rookie tight end, so making that bet's always a bad idea. No one. I mean, the Colts are set, right? Michael Pittman's not going to move up anymore. JT can't move up anymore. Matthew Ryan's 106, so he can't move up in value. In theory, it could be Alec Pierce or Jelani Woods. If I had to bet on the 2 of them, because it's not going to be Paris Campbell. Like we've given up on that, right? He's over.
No, I will never give up.
Okay,
nope, I won't give up either.
Okay, good dream. But if I had to bet on someone, it's going to be Jelani Woods because Alec Pierce isn't good at catching the football. Yeah.
To be clear, I've fully given up on Paris Campbell from a fantasy perspective, but as a Colts fan, I wish for nothing but the best for Paris Campbell. And when I say I still believe in, I don't even mean like to be good. I just mean I really want to see him play 1 consecutive month of football on a football field and be happy. Like, that's just what I want for Paris Campbell. Like, on a personal, like, human level. No, like, it's going to make me cry. Like, I just hate, like, everything that's happened in his career. I hate seeing him get injured so often. It breaks my heart. The dude's had so much talent. And, like, I just want to see him, like, contribute and be happy with his life because it's just, the guy's just absolutely, like, gotten screwed. Yeah, you ask about Paris Campbell or Curtis Samuel in Dynasty. That is a depressing question. And unfortunately, there's probably got to be Samaje Perine.
The Perine line?
I think they're both below the P line. No, I would go with Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel has actually produced before. Right? Paris Campbell is not, only in my dreams. So
yes.
You got to go with Curtis Samuel. Here's why Jelani Woods sucks. Jelani Woods' career high receiving yards market share is 12.7%. His dominator rating looks okay because he scored a bunch of touchdowns because he is a human oak tree.
Wait, so we don't care about dominator rating when it's built off the back of touchdowns because we don't like the specific player?
Well, I don't like the stat dominator rating because it's built off of touchdowns, which is
There
why
you go.
I use yardage stats.
That's better. Okay.
So his receiving yards market share is 12.7% because he just got a bunch of touchdowns. There's another tight end on the Colts roster
Don't give me
named Kylan
Granson.
Granson. And his receiving yards market share, it was 14.76 as an 18-year-old. Then 14 again as a 19-year-old. 17.9%, and then 16.8%. He has never, in fact, had a receiving yards market share lower than the best of Jelani Woods' college career. And he's, in fact, not a fullback because last year, Mo Alley Cox ran 53% of his routes in line. Kylan Granson ran 65% of his routes either in the slot or out wide, including 20% of his routes out wide. And on like about 2 routes, he earned a target on 21% of them. So I think Kylan Granson is the guy that has the opportunity to be the F tight end in this offense, where he's going to be lined up,
watch your mouth.
Potentially out wide, potentially as the H back in the offense. He's a guy that has also over 75th percentile burst and agility scores, ran a 4.6 4.40, produced in college. I think Kylan Granson is the roster in Indianapolis, not Jelani Woods.
His athleticism scores, when Jelani Woods' athleticism scores actually eats Kylan Granson's, it looks at it and it goes, oh, yummy snap.
My point is Kylan Granson, look, he's not going to be athletic as Jelani, but I think Kylan Granson has threshold athleticism plus production plus deployment, whereas Jelani Woods is to me just an athleticism bet. Now, he does have a slight edge in draft capital, but to me, like
a full round.
Yeah, a full round, whatever. 3rd round, 4th round. People said the 2022 draft was bad. Really, what's the difference between the 3rd round and the 4th round?
So really, Kylan Granson should be in a real draft. Would have been like a 6th round pick.
But Jelani Woods is like actually a tight end. Like to me, he presents as the Y tight end. That's a long-term replacement for Mo Alley Cox. Kylan Granson is short and doesn't block. When Kylan Granson's on the field, he has one job. It's to run the route. So I actually think Granson's the more immediate producer this year. He is my most rostered tight end in Dynasty. Everybody knows that I'm a Colts fan, but you also know that I hate like all of our players except for Jonathan Taylor. So I promise you this is not a homer take. I actually like Kylan Granson, and I think he's a great gamble at his cost of free.
It's because he's the only player that you like for the Colts. So yeah. I'm actually completely out on Curtis Samuel. Jahan Dotson's been playing out of the slot thus far in training camp. They also
rave reviews.
Yep, rave reviews of the slot. He's the go-to guy. But I mean, Curtis Samuel, like, where is he going to play? Like, it's Amari Brown now on the outside. Curtis Samuel isn't getting touches in the backfield because the backfield's extremely crowded now. Like, where is Curtis Samuel going to see the field where he's going to provide weekly fantasy value? And I just don't think it's there. I think there's a higher chance that we see Paris Campbell getting premium targets on the outside than we see Curtis Samuel getting, pretty much just like gadget plays essentially. I just don't see the value with Curtis Samuel. I think he's gonna be a roster clog where he has a good week, but you never know when it's gonna be, and so he just literally sits on your roster, and you don't want to drop him because he has those weeks, but nobody's gonna trade for him. So I'll take Paris Campbell with the boom week. So I think we could see more right. All right,
yeah, Paris Campbell should retire. Was he a 1st round draft pick?
He was a
second. All right. Well, I mean, at least he got decent money. That's all I hope for these kids is if they don't have illustrious careers. Hopefully, they get paid a little bit at least.
It's just the real like sick joke of the Campbell last season was that he broke his damn foot scoring a touchdown. Like he finally did something cool, and on the same play that he did something cool, his foot broke. Like I was reading the interview with him of like how like overjoyed he was when he scored. And then when he immediately realized that his foot didn't work anymore, and I was like, I literally cried like on the couch. I was just like, man, this guy is so screwed.
I was like,
literally,
Paul,
literally, it's like a lot of screws in his foot.
Yeah. All right, on that note, let's get out of here. Make sure you guys go check out youtube.com/fantasy intervention. Hit subscribe over there. Turn on notifications for anytime we go live. We only do it one time a week or so. And we got some big news that is coming up for the Fantasy Intervention crew. We're very excited to do that. Make sure if you guys go buy a trophy or a draft board, use promo code CIRCLE. If you're purchasing a trophy, you will actually get a ring, a championship ring for free. Do it for your leagues this year. There's some sick trophies. I got this massive one right here. This thing is huge. I don't even know how I'm picking it up. It weighs like 500 pounds. Pretty sure it's 500 pounds. Go check that out. Use promo code CIRCLE when you're checking out. Make sure the ring and the trophy or the belt are in the cart. I'm sorry, the trophy or the belt are in the cart with the ring. Use promo code CIRCLE. You'll get the $60 ring for free. And let everybody know where to find. Start out with you, Shane.
Oh, I'm on the Twitters at Shane is the Worst. Dynasty Trades HQ podcast, Dynasty Trades in 5 on YouTube, Manic and Chill on the DLF YouTube, right for DLF, right for Fantasy Data, and I think that's it. And then here every Wednesday.
All right,
find me
Jacob.
on Twitter, FF_RTDB. You can find me on Tuesdays on the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. And I think we've been doing about every second Saturday a cash considerations best ball stream. But those pop up whenever. You can find my written work at Player Profiler, including my most recent piece, which was part 1 of my best ball tournament strategy guide. I had a lot of fun writing that. It is my longest article that I've ever written for Player Profiler, which is, I'm not sure why I admitted that on air, because now you won't want to read it, but it remains factual. And you can find me in the Bulletproof Discord, and we recently launched the Full Tilt Discord, so you can find me in there. And you can probably find me in a lot of best ball lobbies.
Yeah, best ball nonce. Did you get to any of the sophomore ones?
I didn't. I wish that I did actually, but I'm
dude. They filled up so.
I'm trying to really preserve my bullets for the puppies, and I'm not on unlimited funds right now. So, okay, yeah, that was not a great turn of phrase.
You're saying,
take it out of context. I will admit that I'm saving my bullets for the puppies is not the world's greatest. I'm not sure if my roommate is home right now, but I will say that, like, Lindsay, if you're listening to this, I know you don't draft best ball, and if you think that I'm planning to shoot dogs,
you're right.
I'm not.
Oh my god!
Use
promo code CIRCLE. Use promo code
Vic
get some of these
when you sign up at checkout.
Stop! All right, Jacob, you need to go on mute. Oh my god! No, use promo code CIRCLE. You guys will get an instant match deposit bonus of up to $100. And go check out our stuff over there at Trophy Smack. If you want a chance at the Scott Fishbowl, we actually just released our most recent contest where we just want to hear your best fantasy football names for 2022 for your teams. So go over there, check out trophysmack.com. This is one of your last chances to get into the Scott Fishbowl. It hit over 75% today for the invitees. So 25% less. Go to Trophy Smack over there on Twitter. Check out our contest. Enter in. Make sure y'all have people that can vote for you, of course, and come up with the best team name for 2022. Thank you guys for listening. Y'all can follow me over there at FF.
I'm just picturing in my head now one of those Pete Overzet videos with like an overlay of like this Humane Society picture of all of these puppies with sad faces, and it's showing these like bad best ball teams, and it's about adopting a puppy. And I'm just picturing this, I save my bullets for my puppies, just out there drafting my third quarterback, just shooting dogs.
I love it. Saving my bullets for the puppies.
Saving my bullets for the puppies.
Oh my god, is that our new hashtag?
You need to see the picture.
Saving our bullets for the puppies.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. Oh, we're out.
Promo code